Welcome back to Building Better Vocabulary for IELTS. You know what we do here, right? We
Mhm.
take a deep dive into some awesome vocabulary. And, well, this vocabulary is going to help you totally ace that speaking exam. Today, we're going to be focusing on describing a friend, someone you really enjoy spending time with.
It's not just about memorizing words you know.
Right.
It's about understanding how to really use them naturally and effectively, to impress those IELTS examiners.
Yeah. You'll need to understand and use these words effectively. We'll even show you how to incorporate these words into answers for common IELTS speaking questions.
Think of it as like building a toolbox filled with impressive vocabulary
Right?
that you can then use to construct eloquent and sophisticated answers.
Yeah, I like that. Building a vocabulary toolbox.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started with the first question you might encounter in the IELTS speaking exam.
The first question is, what is heesh like?
What is heesh like?
What is heesh like?
Now, let's dive into some keywords and phrases that can help you answer this question effectively. First up, kind.
Okay.
Kind.
It means caring and considerate. For example, the kind teacher helped the student with her homework.
Next, we have friendly.
Friendly,
Friendly.
meaning acting in a warm and pleasant way. Like, the staff at the cafe were very friendly and welcoming.
Okay, how about patient?
Patient.
Patient.
Being able to stay calm and not get annoyed. For instance, the patient tutor explained the concepts several times.
All right, this one is interesting. Compassionate.
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 Showing understanding and concern for others. Think of it like a compassionate doctor listens to their patients carefully.
And finally, for this question, we have thoughtful.
Thoughtful.
Showing consideration for others. A good example is she is thoughtful and always remembers my birthday.
Great. Now that we've gone over those key words and phrases, let's see them in action.
Here is an intermediate answer to the question, what is Heesha like? He is very kind and friendly. He always helps me when I have problems and makes me laugh. He's also quite patient and listens carefully when I need advice. That's a good start. But let's see how we can elevate that answer using more advanced vocabulary. Here's an advanced answer to the same question. She's incredibly compassionate and approachable. She has a great sense of humor and always makes people feel comfortable around her. Besides that, she's thoughtful and often remembers small details, which shows how much she cares about others.
See how using those keywords can create a more detailed and impressive response. Remember, using a variety of vocabulary is key to scoring higher on your IELTS speaking exam.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the second question you might be asked.
The second question is, where does Heish live?
Where does Heish live?
Where does Heish live?
Again, we want to go beyond simple answers and use vocabulary that showcases your English language skills. So let's explore some more descriptive terms. First up, city center.
City center.
City center.
This refers to the central part of a city usually bustling with activity and businesses. Like, there are many shops and restaurants in the city center.
Okay, next we have suburban area.
Suburban areas.
Suburban area.
This describes a residential area located outside the main city. For example, they moved to a suburban area for a quieter lifestyle.
Next up is spacious.
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 Meaning having a lot of space. You could say, their new house is spacious and perfect for a big family.
How about green spaces?
Green spaces.
Green spaces.
These are areas with grass, trees, or plants in urban areas, providing a welcome break from concrete. For instance, the park provides a much-needed green space in the city.
And lastly, we have
Convenient.
convenient,
Convenient.
which you can use to describe something that's easy and suitable for one's needs. An example would be, the supermarket near my house is very convenient.
Or yeah, let's see how we can incorporate these words into our answers.
Here's an intermediate answer to the question, where does Heksha live? He lives in a small apartment near the city center. It's close to his school, so he doesn't need to travel far. The neighborhood is quiet, and he enjoys living there. And here's a more advanced answer using some of our key terms. She resides in a spacious apartment in a suburban area. It's a quiet neighborhood with plenty of green spaces and parks where she likes to take walks. The area is also close to local shops and public transport, which makes it convenient.
Notice how we've taken a simple answer and made it more interesting and sophisticated by choosing the right vocabulary.
Exactly. The examiner will be impressed by your ability to use precise and descriptive language. Now on to our third question.
The third question is, what does Hesha do?
What does Hisha do?
What does Hesh do?
This is your chance to talk about your friend's profession or studies using impressive vocabulary. First up, Rewarding.
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 It means providing a sense of satisfaction or achievement. A good example is volunteering at the animal shelter is a rewarding experience.
Okay, next we have software engineer.
Software engineer.
Software engineer.
This refers to someone who designs and creates computer programs. For instance, the software engineer developed a new app for online learning.
All right, how about specializing in?
Specializing in.
Specializing in.
This means focusing on a particular area of expertise. For example, he is specializing in renewable energy technologies.
Now for efficiency.
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 It refers to the ability to do something well without wasting time or resources. You could say, the new system improves efficiency in the workplace.
And finally, for this question, we have challenging.
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 This describes something that's difficult but interesting or satisfying. For example, learning a new language can be challenging but fun.
Okay, so how can we use these words to answer the question, what does he should do?
Here is an intermediate answer. He works as a teacher at a local school. He teaches math to high school students and enjoys helping them learn new things. He says it's a rewarding job.
And here is a more advanced example.
Yeah.
She's a software engineer specializing in developing innovative applications for businesses. Her work involves creating programs that improve efficiency and solve complex problems. She finds her job challenging but fulfilling.
Do you see how we're painting a clearer picture of the person and their work by using strong vocabulary?
Absolutely. It's like adding vibrant colors to a painting. The more descriptive words we use, the more engaging and impressive our answer becomes. Ready for question number 4.
The fourth question is, where does Hesha work or study?
Where does Hesha work or study?
Where does Hesha work or study?
Let's delve into the vocabulary that can help us answer this question effectively. First, we have a very common one. Hospital. Hospital.
Hospital.
A place where people receive medical treatment. For example, the hospital is well known for its excellent care.
Okay, next up is prestigious.
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 This describes something highly respected or admired. You could say, she graduated from a prestigious law school.
All right, how about overseas?
Overseas.
Like overseas.
Meaning in a foreign country, especially across the sea. For instance, he plans to work overseas after graduation.
Let's move on to majoring in.
Majoring in.
Majoring in. It means focusing on a specific subject at university. A good example is, she is majoring in environmental science.
And finally, we have fascinating.
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 Meaning extremely interesting. You could say, the book about space exploration was fascinating.
Great. Now that we've covered the vocabulary, let's see how we can use it to answer the question, where does Hesha work or study?
Here is an intermediate example. He works at a hospital in the city. He's a nurse, and his job is to take care of patients and make sure they feel comfortable.
And here's a more advanced answer, showcasing some of the key terms we just discussed. She studies at a prestigious university overseas, majoring in international relations. Her program involves a lot of research discussions and presentations about global issues, which she finds fascinating.
See, we're really starting to build up a vivid picture of this friend, aren't we?
We sure are. And using specific and impressive vocabulary helps bring that picture to life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the 5th question.
The 5th question is, how often do you talk to him?
How often do you talk to him?
Yeah. How often do you talk to him?
We've got some great vocabulary to help you answer this one, too. Let's start with almost every day.
Almost every day.
Almost every day.
This simply means nearly every day of the week. For example, I go jogging almost every day.
Okay, next up is communicate.
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 This refers to the act of sharing information or ideas. You could say, we communicate regularly via email.
All right, how about video calls?
Video calls.
Video calls.
These are online calls where people can see each other. For instance, we use video calls to stay connected with family abroad.
And finally, we have catch up on life.
Catch up on life.
Catch up on life.
This means to share recent updates with someone. For example, we met after a long time and caught up on life.
Okay, let's use these terms to answer the question, how often do you talk to her?
Here is an intermediate example. I talk to him almost every day, usually in the evening after work. We chat about what happened during the day and share some jokes.
And here is a more advanced response. We communicate several times a week, mostly through video calls as we live in different cities. We often talk for hours, catching up on life and discussing topics that interest us both.
Now we're getting into the details of the friendship and how you stay connected. Remember, details and specific examples can make your answers more engaging.
Exactly. It helps the examiner get a better sense of your relationship with this friend. Ready for question number 6.
The sixth question is, what do you usually talk about?
What do you usually talk about?
What do you usually talk about?
This is your chance to showcase your vocabulary related to conversation topics. First up is funny stories.
Funny stories.
Funny stories.
These are amusing or entertaining anecdotes. For instance, she always has funny stories to share from work.
Okay, next we have current events.
Current events.
Current events.
This refers to recent news or happenings. For example, we discuss current events like the recent election.
All right, how about career goals?
Career goals.
Career goals.
These are plans or ambitions related to one's job or profession. For example, his career goals include becoming a manager.
Let's move on to philosophical ideas.
Philosophical ideas.
Philosophical ideas.
This refers to thoughts related to deep or abstract concepts. For instance, they had a long discussion about philosophical ideas over dinner.
And finally, we have exchange perspectives.
Exchange perspectives.
Exchange perspectives.
This means to share and discuss different viewpoints. For example, the debate allowed us to exchange perspectives on the topic.
Okay, let's apply these words to our answers to the question, what do you usually talk about?
Here is an intermediate answer. We usually talk about our day school and funny stories. Sometimes we discuss our hobbies and make plans to meet.
And here's a more advanced example using our key vocabulary. Our conversations often revolve around current events, career goals, and personal interests like books or travel. We also enjoy discussing philosophical ideas and exchanging different perspectives.
We're really getting a sense of the depth of this friendship and the types of conversations you have, aren't we? Using varied vocabulary allows you to express those nuances effectively.
Definitely. It shows the examiner that you have a strong command of the English language and can discuss a variety of topics. Okay, ready for question 7.
The seventh question is, how often do you see him?
How often do you see him?
How often do you see him, Pear?
Let's break down some helpful vocabulary for this question. First up, once a week.
Once a week.
Once a week.
Meaning one time during the week. A good example is, I visit my grandparents once a week.
Okay, next up is make the most of.
Make the most of.
Make the most of.
This means to use time or resources effectively. For instance, they made the most of their vacation by visiting many places.
And finally, we have busy schedules.
Busy schedules.
Busy schedules.
Meaning having many commitments or tasks to do. You could say, despite our busy schedules, we always find time to meet.
Okay, now that we've got the vocabulary down, let's use it to answer the question, how often do you see him?
Here is an intermediate example. I see her once a week when we go to the park together. It's a good chance to relax and spend time outdoors.
And here is a more advanced response. We meet monthly due to our busy schedules, but we always make the most of our time together. Whether it's attending an event or simply having a long chat, it's always enjoyable. Those are some great examples. Ready for our final question.
The eighth and final question is, where do you meet him?
Where do you meet him?
Where do you meet him here?
Let's explore a few more key terms to help us answer this question effectively. First up is cafe.
Cafe.
A small restaurant that serves coffee and light meals. For example, we spent the afternoon chatting at a cozy cafe.
Okay, next we have a familiar term, convenient.
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 Just a reminder that it means easy and suitable. Like, the bus stop is very convenient for me.
All right. How about cultural events?
Cultural events.
Cultural events. These are activities that showcase art, music, or traditions. For example, the city hosts cultural events every weekend.
Let's move on to outdoor venues.
Outdoor venue.
Outdoor venues.
This refers to places outside where events are held. For instance, the concert took place at an outdoor venue near the lake.
And finally, we have explore.
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 Meaning to travel around and learn about a place, like they explored the old town and discovered hidden gems.
Right. Let's put this vocabulary to use and answer the question, where do you meet her?
Here is an intermediate example. We usually meet at a cafe near my house. It's convenient for both of us, and we like the coffee there.
And here's a more advanced response incorporating our key vocabulary. We often meet at cultural events or outdoor venues as we both enjoy experiencing new activities.
Yeah.
Sometimes we explore different parts of the city together.
Fantastic. We've covered so much ground in this episode.
I know, right? We've gone through 8 common IELTS questions and learned a ton of useful vocabulary to help you answer them confidently. I think our listeners are ready to take on the IELTS speaking exam with all these new words and phrases under their belts.
I agree. But before we move on, let's do a quick recap of all the key vocabulary we've covered today to really make it stick. Ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. For describing someone's personality, we had
Considerate, compassionate.
and thoughtful,
For talking about where someone lives, we used
city center,
suburban area
say green spaces.
and convenient.
For discussing someone's profession or studies, we had
Rewarding
specializing in
efficiency.
and challenging.
To describe places of work or study, we used
Prestigious
majoring in.
and facts
And talking about how often you communicate, we learned
almost every day
video call.
and catch up on life.
For discussing conversation topics, we covered
Funny stories,
current events,
career goals,
philosophical ideas,
and exchange perspectives.
and finally, for describing places where you meet, we used
Cafe, the
convenient
cultural events,
outdoor venues.
and explore.
Wow, that was a thorough rundown.
It was. But remember, it's not just about knowing the definitions. It's about understanding how to use these words effectively, in your IELTS speaking responses.
You're absolutely right. So let's put this vocabulary into practice with those sample answers we talked about earlier.
Sounds good. Let's revisit the first question. What is Hesher like?
Okay, the question is, what is Hesha like?
And remember, we're aiming for answers that go beyond simple descriptions and really showcase a strong command of English vocabulary.
Here's the intermediate answer from the source material.
Cool.
He is very kind and friendly. He always helps me when I have problems and makes me laugh. He's also quite patient and listens carefully when I need advice.
That's a good, solid answer that uses some of the key words we discussed earlier.
Now let's hear the advanced answer to the same question. She's incredibly compassionate and approachable. She has a great sense of humor and always makes people feel comfortable around her. Besides that, she's thoughtful and often remembers small details, which shows how much she cares about others.
That's excellent. It not only incorporates those descriptive vocabulary words, but it also provides specific examples to really back up those claims.
You're right. The examples really help bring the person to life and show the examiner you can use these words effectively in context.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Where does Hashi live?
All right, the question is, where does Hashi live?
Let's hear that intermediate answer. He lives in a small apartment near the city center. It's close to his school, so he doesn't need to travel far. The neighborhood is quiet, and he enjoys living there.
That gives the examiner a good sense of location and lifestyle, but I bet we can make it even better.
Here's the advanced answer. She resides in a spacious apartment in a suburban area. It's a quiet neighborhood with plenty of green spaces and parks where she likes to take walks. The area is also close to local shops and public transport, which makes it convenient.
Wow. It's amazing how much more descriptive and engaging that answer is just by using those key vocabulary words like spacious, green spaces, and convenient.
It really paints a more vivid picture, doesn't it? And remember, the examiner wants to see you using a variety of vocabulary.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. What does Hesha do?
The question is, what does Hesha do?
And the intermediate answer is, he works as a teacher at a local school. He teaches math to high school students and enjoys helping them learn new things. He says it's a rewarding job.
That's a clear and concise answer that gets the point across.
Now for the advanced answer. She's a software engineer specializing in developing innovative applications for businesses. Her work involves creating programs that improve efficiency and solve complex problems. She finds her job challenging but fulfilling.
Now that's impressive. It uses such sophisticated vocabulary and really highlights the complexity and rewards of her work.
You're right. Words like software engineer, specializing in, efficiency, and fulfilling really elevate the response.
Okay, let's keep this momentum going with the next question. Where does Hesha work or study?
The question is, where does Hesha work or study?
And the intermediate answer is he works at a hospital in the city. He's a nurse, and his job is to take care of patients and make sure they feel comfortable.
Again, a good, straightforward answer.
Now let's hear the advanced one. She studies at a prestigious university overseas, majoring in international relations. Her program involves a lot of research discussions and presentations about global issues, which she finds fascinating.
That answer is so much more descriptive and engaging. Using words like prestigious overseas, majoring in, and fascinating really adds depth and interest.
Exactly. It shows the examiner you have a broad vocabulary and can express yourself eloquently.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. How often do you talk to him?
How often do you talk to him?
The intermediate answer is, I talk to him almost every day, usually in the evening after work. We chat about what happened during the day and share some jokes.
That gives a good sense of the frequency and nature of their communication.
Now for the advanced response. We communicate several times a week, mostly through video calls as we live in different cities. We often talk for hours, catching up on life and discussing topics that interest us both.
I like how this answer incorporates the use of technology to stay connected and emphasizes the depth of their conversations.
It also subtly explains why they may not see each other as often, which adds a layer of context.
All right, let's move on to the next question. What do you usually talk about?
The question is, what do you usually talk about?
Here's the intermediate answer. We usually talk about our day school and funny stories. Sometimes we discuss our hobbies and make plans to meet.
A classic response that covers some common conversation topics.
And now for the advanced answer. Our conversations often revolve around current events, career goals, and personal interests like books or travel. We also enjoy discussing philosophical ideas and exchanging different perspectives.
I'm really impressed by the vocabulary used in that answer. Current events, career goals, philosophical ideas, exchanging perspectives. It really showcases a strong command of English.
It also suggests that their conversations are quite intellectual and thought-provoking.
Okay, on to question number 7. How often do you see him?
How often do you see him?
The intermediate answer is, I see her once a week when we go to the park together. It's a good chance to relax and spend time outdoors.
That clearly states the frequency of their meetings and highlights a shared activity they enjoy.
Here's the advanced answer. We meet monthly due to our busy schedules, but we always make the most of our time together. Whether it's attending an event or simply having a long chat, it's always enjoyable.
That answer acknowledges the limitations of their busy schedules while still emphasizing the importance of their friendship.
It also suggests that their meetings are always quality time, whether they're doing something active or just relaxing and chatting.
Okay, last question. Where do you meet him, her?
The question is, where do you meet him, her?
And the intermediate answer is, we usually meet at a cafe near my house. It's convenient for both of us, and we like the coffee there.
A simple and relatable answer that most people can connect with.
And here's the advanced response. We often meet at cultural events or outdoor venues as we both enjoy experiencing new activities. Sometimes we explore different parts of the city together.
I love that answer. It paints such a vibrant picture of their friendship and their shared love of exploring new things.
It also suggests a sense of adventure and curiosity, which are always great qualities to highlight.
Well, I think we've successfully analyzed all those sample answers and really demonstrated the power of using strong vocabulary.
We have, and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to incorporate these words and phrases into their own IELTS speaking practice.
Me too. But before we wrap things up, I think a final recap of all those key words and phrases would be helpful.
Absolutely. Repetition is key when it comes to learning new vocabulary. So let's go through them one last time.
Starting with describing someone's personality, we had
Kind,
friendly,
patient,
compassionate.
and thoughtful.
For talking about where someone lives, we used
City center,
suburban area
spacious, green spaces.
and convenient.
For discussing someone's profession or studies, we had
Rewarding,
software engineer,
specializing in
efficiency.
challenging,
To describe places of work or study, we used
hospital,
prestigious, majoring in.
and fascinating.
For talking about how often you communicate, we learned
Almost every day.
communicate
Video calls.
and catch up on life.
For discussing conversation topics, we cover
Funny stories,
current events,
career goals,
philosophical ideas,
and exchange perspectives.
and finally, for describing places where you meet, we used
Cafe, cultural events, outdoor venues.
and explore.
Wow, that was quite the vocabulary workout.
It was. But I think our listeners are now equipped with a fantastic set of tools to tackle those IELTS speaking questions.
I agree. So listeners, here's your challenge. Think about someone you admire. How would you describe them using some of the words we've discussed today?
Yeah. And for an extra challenge, try answering all 8 of those IELTS questions, using as much rich vocabulary as you can.
Exactly. Put those vocabulary muscles to work and see how impressive your answers can be.
We'd love to hear your responses, so feel free to share them in the comments section below.
That's it for today's deep dive into the world of IELTS vocabulary.
We hope you found this episode helpful and insightful.
Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing. and keep aiming for that IELTS success.
Bye for now.
Bye!